Hi, everyone. Today is July 29, 2021, and welcome to this week's SIG scheduling meeting. And this meeting is being recorded, so be aware for what we are saying. This will be uploaded to YouTube later. So let's go over the agenda. The first one is that someone is proposing customizable scheduling queue abstraction or interface. So the author has talked to me offline at the very beginning, and the background is that we do expose some internal mechanics of the scheduling queue, like adjustable flushing interval, as well as some other stuff. But the whole internal queue thing is not totally exposable. So if a user wants to highly customizable scheduling queue behavior, not only the sorting, but also they want to totally manage the internal, how to do back off, how to do flush, how to do maybe some advanced features like multiple sub queue inside the schedule queue interface. So maybe it's a good idea to expose the interface for them to implement. So this is the background of the CAP. But in terms of CAP, because right now CAP is a very strict Kubernetes process. If you raise a CAP, you have to follow all the templates that follow all the PR, follow everything CAP needs. And I think one critical issue out there is we don't have a long run plan for how to refactor the scheduling queue, especially the internal scheduling queue implementation. Because right now, some stuff like the option, as well as some other internal things are quite coupled with the internal queue implementation instead of make it totally abstract on the interface level. So in the long run, I do want that the scheduling queue can be abstracted and refactored so that the user don't need to implement the brand new scheduling queue implementation that is too much burden for the end user. But right now we don't have the time and efforts to tease apart the which parts should be abstracted. So we don't have a long run plan that doesn't quite fit for the CAP. So I think also Abdullah mentioned here is that maybe we can go with just with the PR and with the design document attached. So that should be good enough for the initial phase, how to roll this forward.
I guess my point is that, as you mentioned, there is no clear plan. The proposal is really not clear or not deep enough. And just simply saying we want to be able to pass in the instance instead of the queue, instead of it being instantiated implicitly all the time as the internal one. That is not a proposal, right? I mean, it doesn't really add too much. And even if we go with that, as planned, which is we're going to allow you to instantiate a queue and pass in that, I don't think we want to canonically support this like the way we do for plugins, because I don't feel that this is, for example, the right interface that we would want to have for a supported, customizable queue. The current interface exposes a lot of the internal queue details.
Yeah, that's the point. Yeah.
So I would like to see something nicer, more abstract, that allows you to do, similar to the framework, for example, like in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
Or if we go in with a much simpler approach, like, okay, it's just an interface that you would want to implement, but that interface should be, again, abstract enough from the current internal implementation. And there should be examples of how different implementations can use that interface, like how different implementations can apply to that interface. Some sort of a survey, for example, of what others are doing in terms of queuing for schedulers and whatnot. That would be interesting. This one, I mean, it seems like just a hack,
Yeah.
basically, or like what the proposal is to enable a hack. And I don't supporting this long term, like even short term. Like I'm not gonna say, I don't think we want to say this in the docs. Oh, if you want to schedule like a customizable queue, then go ahead and do this and that. I don't think we want to advocate for this at all. But if whoever is going to do this want to take the risk, it's on their own like risk. We will try to help them basically by doing this small refactoring. But I don't support doing anything more than that at this point without a clear proposal of how to support a customizable queue.
Okay.
Those are my, like, so, that's my point of view. I don't know if everybody agrees or not.
Yeah, I got your point. So yeah, you do not like the current short-term way, which is sort of just put the very heavy interface there and they do sort of a hack of the implementation, and it says that we support this, right? You don't think it's a good idea to claim we support this kind of customer queue rather than have a more detailed refactoring and more detailed abstraction on the interface. Then we claim we support it, right?
Yeah, I don't, like, even if we do this, I don't support like documenting or saying that the way that we're doing it for the framework and plugins and whatnot. And again, we're just doing it because it's small refactoring. Sure, we can make instantiating the queue at an earlier stage so that you can replace it. If you like make it easier for anybody who is importing the scheduler code to change it, basically. But I don't think we want to go further than that at this point without a decent proposal for a customized queue interface or framework, whatever that may be.
All right. So yeah, maybe let's comment on the issue as we do like a sort of more detailed refactoring on the scheduling queue interface firstly, and yeah, tease apart all the interdependencies of the internal implementation with the interface. Then we can have a better interface and claim we have really the customized scheduling queue support. All right, so any others have comments on this one?
Hello, can you hear me? I'm Alex. I talked with Edo offline, and we have another ideas about queue management. I want to have briefly introduced in this meeting.
Yeah, so yeah, this is the idea of, well, extending suspend to beyond just the job API, right?
Yeah.
So I guess, yeah, this kind of goes beyond just, it's more about SIG apps, right? Than SIG scheduling. So maybe we can chat a little bit about it once we finish with the scheduling topics.
I prepare some briefly introduce. I can share it in this. Can I share my
Yeah,
desktop?
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me start my share. Yeah, Alex, you can take over.
Yeah. Can you hear my? Can you see this?
Yeah, I'm gonna make you as a co-host just in case you cannot share. Yeah, you can see your screen.
Yeah, thanks. Let me briefly introduce some of our ideas on queue management. And we merely want to achieve two goals. The first one is to provide different queues for multi-tenants and support fair scheduling among multi-tenants. And the second one is manage job priority and quota through the queue. The first page is the architecture of our system. The main idea is to add the suspend annotation or the suspend status of the job by the annotation. And then the operator will to stop creating pods. And then the jobs will be queuing in the queue controller. And after it is scheduled successfully, we will update the queue status, and then the operator will create the pods. And the first steps, we will add the suspend annotation by the webhook. The second one, the operator will find the job has a suspend annotation, and the operator will stop create the pods. And the third is we have some paths, the two paths of the queue controller. The first one is extension. The extension will identify the jobs template and will create the queue unit. The queue unit is a unit of our queue, and the fourth is that we will also provide some metric of the queue, and the cloud.scaler will use the metric to find if there are no jobs are pending in the queue, and it will create more machine in advance. After a job scheduled successfully, we will update the status of the queue unit. Then the extension will remove the suspend annotation. Then the operator will create a pod. This is the main idea of our system. We set up a project called QuickQ, and it is also used in Alibaba and Tencent on production environment. And the second page is the implementation of the queue controller. It is similar to the scheduler, but the schedule unit is the queue unit. The queue unit represents the job. It mainly consists of two parts. The first one is multi-queue, and the second is the quota system. We have multi-queues for different tenants, and different queue will have different strategies. And then the second part is the scheduling cycle. We will find the best queue fulfilling strategy and in the multi-queue sort plugin. And we also use the quota system like resource code and capacity, class capacity and elastic quota will check if the job can schedule successfully. If we don't have enough quota or capacity, it will be put in the back of queue and will retry in the next cycle. The above is my brief introduction, and we will have a detailed design. And
so Alex,
match,
I have some questions. So if I understand correctly, the left part, the queue management, you mentioned it's a controller, so it's not inside the scheduler, or it's not, and also it's not a scheduler plugin, right? It's a totally independent component. Yeah, the second page. Okay, so how does that associate with the scheduling framework, like the queue sort, filter, and resolve? That totally customer user defined. It's not the same thing as the scheduling framework.
It is not implemented with the schedule framework. It is about the queue controller. The schedule unit is a job level, not the pod level.
Okay, so it's a new thing. It just has the same name like filter, reserve.
Yeah. But the goals is the same with the issue we talked before, and we just to solve the multi-tenant scheduling through the controller, not with the schedule framework.
Have you seen our Kate's job management proposal? Like we were thinking along the same lines, and that's why we introduced the suspend flag to the core job API.
Yeah, well, I talked with Edo before this week offline. I think we want to solve the problem about with a similar method. I think we can try to work together to implement it.
And your current status is that this is just the proposal, like you said that you have it running in Alibaba, but then you said we will come up with a design. So I'm confused whether this is actually implemented or not.
Yeah, we have implemented this controller in our company and used it in production. But I will have the detailed design this week with you and Edo and
how long has it been in production, if I may ask?
About 7 months.
7 months?
Yeah.
Okay.
We also used it in the public cloud and used in some other startup.
Yeah, and what is, like, if I may ask, like, how many jobs like do you handle? Does this controller handles? Like how long like each queue is going to be, and how many queues do you have? Just like just for me to get a rough understanding of what scale are you targeting with this design.
The queue is not very more about less than 10 queues in the controller, but we will schedule about 40,000 40 or 50,000 jobs one day to use this.
40,000 jobs.
Yeah.
In what, like in like they could be pending at a time?
Yeah.
So the queue length 40,000 jobs.
Yeah. Maybe more than this. Yeah.
Okay.
We will use in more jobs and more systems to use this. Yeah.
And each job is like, how big is each job? How many pods and like in on average?
It may be different, but mainly is less than 10 pods in your job. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's all like really great information. Just give us like in a sense of okay, that's great. Like probably Aldo mentioned that like we are working along the same lines. we're
Yeah,
quite interested in collaborating on this. If you are planning to open source this, we can take a look as well and see
yeah,
if we can contribute to it, or if not, then if you just only want to discuss the design, then we can implement something in the open for the community based on that. Like we have our own ideas as well. We want more things to be involved. Like, for example, how do you define capacity for each queue? How do you define budgeting? And other things. So yeah, it's interesting to see how this is going to play out.
yeah.
Like in your design, like once you answer sprint, you basically depend on the default scheduler to actually schedule the pods, right?
Yeah.
And you don't influence anything related to like where the pods are going to end up. Like, do you control like who's going to control the pod creation of these jobs?
The operator, like TF operator or Petacho operator, or the other in Kubeflow community.
Okay, so basically you are focused on not just the job API, you have predefined number of like job APIs, which is the TF operator, PyTorch, MPI, and you're focused on supporting those.
We don't want to change the API of the TF jobs define. We just add the annotation to express the status, and we need to add this logic about when the job has the annotation, the operator will stop creating the pods. And we talked with the people from Kubeflow community, and we will add this logic in the operator in Kubeflow. And they also set up a common operator for the jobs. And we also talk with them to add this logic in the operator. Yeah.
What I'm thinking is probably we can definitely agree on common APIs. And then the decision of whether we want to share the same controller can be left for later. But another question is, like, where would we host this if we host like where would Kubernetes host this, as part of SIG apps, SIG scheduling, or a new working group? I guess those are questions we might want to answer later.
I think this belongs more to SIG scheduling, and I don't know if, like, yeah, you could have another working group, or I mean, we're just adding another layer and another like, you know, organizational burden. I'm not sure if SIG apps as like a whole SIG is you know, invested in this other than the job API. SIG scheduling is more invested in batch scheduling. We have a lot of people here trying to, you know, enhance the default scheduler to support batch cases. But as for hosting it, like, I mean, we have a clear option, which is like, you know, like a SIG repo similar to the plugins one. But that's, I think, premature talk. Like, let's see the proposed design first, and maybe then we can see how to proceed.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, I stopped my showing.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thank you, Alex. So yeah, to get it recorded, could you make the slides shareable and paste the link either in the issue or under the agenda, so that we know that we have gone through alternative design of the manage the path creation and manage the paths which belongs to a job or belong to a batch workers at the creation time instead of the scheduling time. So that is another angle of solving this problem. Yeah, could you do that to make your slides link back here?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So the second item is that I discussed with Aldo offline refactoring our behavior on how to handle the scheduling internal failures. So internal failures including some internal scheduling faults, and upon the faults, so right now we don't distinguish the internal errors with the standard errors like the filter errors, fit error, or some other things. So I think Aldo's idea is that upon this internal error, maybe next time the internal and the transient error will go. So we prefer more to treat this kind of error as transient and make it retriable as soon as possible. So that means we prefer to put it to backup queue instead of on-scheduling queue, because if the pod is in on-scheduled queue, you have to wait for a related event to come in and then to trigger that pod to be retried. Yeah, that is the background of this discussion. Yeah, Aldo, do you have any supplement?
Yeah, no, not really. The distinction is basically internal errors, or maybe the API server was down, or just the API request failed because the API server is overwhelmed. And this is different from a unschedulable pod.
Yes.
So
yeah, standard error. Yeah.
So yeah, my idea is that we should move these pods back off directly. And I think, yeah, we've seen this similar problem when doing PVCs, when a pod has PVCs, and the PVC is somehow not created yet, or it's, because it's all asynchronous. And then we should be retrying that.
But this
actually,
is an example, right? Like the PVC, when it gets created, it will create an event and it will move the pod back.
Right.
I mean, the first example you gave is reasonable. Like if you have errors related to API server, but I don't know where, like in which plugins do we face these errors? Like none of these plugins actually directly talk to the API server other than the ones related to storage.
But yeah, the point is that during binding, if the binding fails, we are putting the pod in the unscalable queue. That's the problem. And yeah, my point is that shouldn't be the case if there is a binding error.
Yeah, I mean, binding is one good example.
Yes. I'm not sure if any other plugins would have different retriable errors. Yeah, most of the errors should be unexpected, right? They only happen if there is a weird bug somewhere. So in those cases, I guess I don't know what to do. But in binding, I feel like it should go directly to the back of queue. So that's one topic. I don't know if we all agree, but the side topic is that the whole retry logic, the whole recording, scaling errors, and all of that is very flaky. Like the code is getting very complex. So we might need to find a better design just for that part. of error handling. That's kind of a side topic. Any
Let's have an
thoughts?
issue open and then we can discuss. I'm not sure if there's one already.
No, I didn't open one. So what about the main question though? Do you think that's reasonable? We should just retry, or
Right now, like what will happen is that you're gonna have the pod in the unscheduled queue, and then only when that expires, it will be moved back, unless like there is a lucky event that moves it out, right?
correct?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. Like, did you have an experiment where you've noticed that this is a problem?
Not really. It was coming because of these changes around permit, where we're trying to handle this kind of errors differently for each pod. Like if a permit fails, or if a permit is denied, then we have to decide what to do with that pod. And I just realized that we're not doing these kind of decisions. We're just always putting everything in a scalable queue. And yeah, it's kind of, I have the feeling that this is this triggers those questions of why do we need a backup queue? Why can I not just remove the backup queue? And I feel like it's because of this kind of retries that cause a delay on these pods, and it shouldn't. So yeah, but I don't have a real world scenario.
Yeah, I think at least we can document these concerns first and see what's the best way to going forward.
All right, I'll start.
Could you write the issue? Yeah, about it.
Yeah. I'll
Yeah,
start.
thank you.
All right.
All right. I think that's pretty much for today's meeting. And Abdullah, maybe sometime we can talk offline about the discussion of the next release items. Yeah, and any others has any other discussion to bring up? If not, I'll stop recording. And thank you for joining today's meeting. We'll see you in another 2 weeks. And thank you for your time. Bye.